Okay. Audio test, find the sound bar. Alrighty, here we go. Alrighty guys, here's the Photoshop tutorial I promised. We're going to go through this picture that I took yesterday, and we're just going to edit it through, and I'm going to show my basic thought process as I'm going through some of these pictures. So first of all, I've imported this picture and it's the background layer, but to start working on it, we got to create a copy. So to do what I just did, I just hit Control J, or you can click, right click, duplicate layer. Either way, I'm going to rename it to Basic Edits, and we can get through some basic touch-ups on this photo. Let's turn this off just for sake of having it off. Then, as I look at this picture, there's not a whole lot that I'm going to have to touch up. One thing for sure is I'm going to zoom in, and by doing this, I'm holding Control and space, clicking with the left mouse button, and then dragging. As I can see, there's some blemishes here, so I'm just going to take some of these out with my healing tool, my spot healing tool, and just kind of smooth out the skin and just kind of clean things up a little so it looks a little bit better. Take some of this out. There's another glare spot there, here as well. And I'm just going to kind of touch up here and there with a small brush size and make sure everything kind of looks nice and clean. Take out some of these. I'm going to leave the shirt as it is because that's just the texture of the shirt. Then I've got this little patch here. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Normally I'd heal it away and just kind of fade it into the background, but we're going to do something different with that. But as I go through, here's another spot. I'm just going to touch it up a little. Zooming out every now and then helps you find little details that change, like this spot here is darker. There's a bump there. Just helps you kind of get a different perspective. But now I'm done with that. There's not really anything else I have to do with it. It's touched up, looks fairly clean. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do some adjustments because glaring white, don't really like it that much. So we're going to come over here and we're going to grab the burn tool. Exposure, that's going to change how dark or light it is. I'm going to put it right about 60. Then I'm going to open up the brush settings. I'm going to soften it a little. Let's just put it at 50% for simplicity's sake, 49. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to paint along the skin. And as you can see, it's darkening a little bit. It's not quite as glaring white. And I'm just going to go all the way around and do that. Now this has all been one click, and I'll show you why I'm doing just one click and not letting go, as it'd be a lot easier to let go and just kind of do small strokes. But as I go through, I'm going to darken this out, make sure I get all the areas. Alright, now I've let go. If I click again, it darkens again. So if I'm painting through and I let go, now this spot here where I overlapped is darker than the other two. So I'm going to undo those just to move them away. Now, because everybody here loves white teeth, my teeth don't look that white now that I've burned them. So I'm going to drop the brush size to a small brush, and I'm going to up the exposure to 76, zoom in, way in, and I'm just going to take the dodge tool and I'm just going to brush some white into this area so it looks brighter. So it looks like my teeth are clean. Now if I zoom out, it's not over dramatic, but it's white teeth, which looks a lot better. Something else I want to do, and this is something I'm just thinking of with this picture, I want to make the color in the eyes pop. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my lasso tool, I'm going to go zoom way in so I can be accurate. And I'm just going to click and drag around the iris. All the way under the eyelid. Then I'm going to let go. And it's made a selection of this area. Now I want to do the other eye as well. So I'm going to hold shift now and go around the eye. So I've done that. So now you can see I have a selection around both eyes. Now I'm going to hit Control J, and that'll do just the eyes, as you can see here. So from that, I'm now going to come down to this side here, and I'm going to make an adjustment layer. Let's do the hue and saturation. Now if I start playing with the hue, it's going to change the whole picture. I'm going to undo that. So what we have to do is I'm going to hold Alt and click the line between to make it into a clipping mask. So now if I play with the hue, it only changes the eyes because that's the layer below it. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it into more of a greenish hue. I'm going to up the saturation a little, make the colors pop. So now it shows up a lot more. If I flip it on and off, you can see the color difference. I don't want to make it too dramatic. Otherwise it's just crazy and it looks weird. Now for sake of colors, I'm going to go back to this photo, this layer here. I'm going to go around and I'm going to trace around my hat. Go around, just a quick little around. I'm going to do the ear a little bit, up above the hairline, do that. Now as you can see here, it's a little rough, so I'm going to take my selection tool over here and I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to press Alt and that'll go into subtract mode, and I'm just going to deselect some of the area outside of the hat just to kind of refine that selection a bit more. From down here, I'm going to take the ear and the shadow on the inside. Now I messed up, Control Z, fix it real quick. I think it's just going to be difficult, but I'm going to try and move my way through it. Alright, now it's still a little rough up here, so I'm going to fix that super quick. Alrighty, just a little bit, doesn't quite want to go for me. Alright, well, close enough. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to right click and go to feather. Feather by 3 pixels, and that's going to help refine the edge a bit more so it's not as crazy. I'm going to try one more time to go through this area. And it'll be fine. It's what we're going to do with it isn't going to affect it hardly at all. So we're going to do the same idea, hit Control J, and it'll make a layer of just the hat. I'm going to rename this one as well to the eyes, rename this one to hat. Now same thing that we did with the eyes, we're going to create a saturation layer, hue and saturation, and again we're going to clip it to just the hat. Now I want to bring the saturation up on it so it's a bit brighter, as you can see here. Make it go up and down. Well, I want to put it right about here, but I don't like the bright red. I want it to be more of a maroon. So I'm going to go to the lightness and turn it down. So now it's more of a maroon color, but it still has that saturation. It's not as washed out anymore. Now, here comes the fun part. So I don't personally like the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the quick selection, click on the basic edits, and we're going to paint all the way around my head. Now it's gone over the selection, take that out, make sure none of my head is selected. Make sure we get all the way down here. Make sure we take some of that. Just kind of refine it a little. Go all the way around, make sure everything's good. That area is a little weird. Make sure we put it back in. There we go. Go through like that. Looks good. We're going to feather it again just to make sure it's good, but I'm going to do it by 2 pixels instead because it's a little less edge. Then I'm going to do Control J, so it's an easier selection for next time. So now I can go to the selection, Control click. I can select the inverse, so now it's my head. Hit Control J again. Of course, what happened here is I was on the wrong layer, so it copied nothing. So I'll undo that and select the basic edits one and then copy that. I'm going to move this back up. Alright, so now we've got our 2 layers here. We can turn that off a little bit, but I want to go here, turn this off. Now we have a copy of the edits we made, and we don't have the background. Now, I'm going to take a pre-selected photo. I'm going to do this photo. Now I got to upscale it a lot. So I'm going to hold Shift and then click and drag so that it stays the same size. Go up this way, zoom out a little, upscale it, and then I'm just going to move it and click yes. So now, obviously the issue is we have just eyes and a hat. Looks really creepy. So let's move the base image down below, and it's going to be our base. So from there, I'm going to copy it and then rasterize it so it can be used as a smart object. And I can turn off the base now. So now I can zoom in again, and I've got a smooth selection around my character. In this case it's me, but I have this weird edge on the shoulder. So I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to go to the layer that we need, put soft eraser, upsize the brush some more, and I'm just going to slowly take off that edge a little and smooth it out so it's more round. Like that. But it still looks a little weird, so I'm going to undo that. Maybe try again. Go in like this, maybe. Just a little bit of smoothing. Like that. Looks a little bit better, but there's something else we can do. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the clone stamp. We're just going to copy this area, upsize the brush a little bit, and we're going to try that again. This area, we're just going to paint it up this way. Take this. Bring it over, this again, bring it over. Still looks a little bit weird, so I'm going to undo that. A lot of it is just trial and error. Just working with what you got to try and build the best you can. Just going to kind of build it up a little. Like so. And then I'll take the eraser again and just kind of smooth it out a little. Now, if you look at it, it still has a very, very clear edge around my character. So I'm going to take my blur tool over here. I'm going to turn up the strength a little, the hardness, it's going to be full. My strength, I'm going to turn it down to about 35. And I'm just going to go along the edge and just blur the edge all the way around. Just to kind of take that edge off a little. There we go. And then around over here. Just take the edge off a little so it's not as severe. Then, after that, there's a lot of detail in the background. I don't really want that. So I'm going to go back to our base copy. I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. From there, I can adjust the radius and choose just how blurry I want to make it. I want it super blurry? Not really. Bring it to about 2. click OK. Now if we turn this off, we see an issue here. So I've got to go back now. I'm going to take up my history, and I'm going to go all the way back to before the blur tool. If I go back, the sample all layers was on, which is going to take pieces from every layer that's visible and merge it together. I don't want that. I have to go back through with all layers off and re-blur this so that it only works with one layer. I can move this back to get out of the way. Come back through and do the edge again. Make it look all pretty. Then we'll do the Gaussian blur, still on the background layer instead of the front. So the filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I like this, the 3 was a good number. So we're going to do that. And it still looks a little weird, so we're going to do it again, just to add a little bit more blur to it so we can focus more on the character in front. Little too much. Let's try maybe 5. Maybe 0.5. That should work. That blurs the background, still has the detail, but now we have that sharp edge back. So we're going to up the strength a little back onto the base layer, and we're going to go back through and just blur the edge some more. We're going to soften the hardness a little. Back along the edge again. Go back through along this edge. Just paint nice and easy. Alright. Now we're going to zoom out, look at it. Well, I want to bring out the color of this pendant. So I'm going to grab the dodge tool. Got my small brush, exposure, going to up it, and just going to paint through. Just get this pendant nice and bright. This one's a little darker, so bring that out some more. Bring that out. Alright, now it stands out a little bit more against the skin tone. And just for kicks and giggles, we're going to do this. Do low exposure, just going to kind of paint through here. Get a little more contrast. Just change the color a little bit. There we go. That's all of the edits that we had to do. And so if we grab all of our things, and if we put it in a folder real quick, turn on the background, we just took this picture and we made it into this. Simple and easy edit. Makes the picture look a lot better, and it was fun to do. Only took a couple minutes. Not that bad. But this is just the first one. If you guys want more, just let me know and I'll see what else I can do to show off some cool stuff. But have some fun editing, and I'll see you next time.